Good afternoon. Well, I feel like someone's been playing trick or treat all day with me today. We've had some major glitches with Facebook. And even to the point where I was thinking about having to go buy another laptop. And I kept messing with this. And finally, it started working again. And honestly, I don't know what I did to fix it. So that brings up the question for today's devotional, which is very delayed. Sorry Rosette was not able to sing this morning because of all the challenges, but anyway, why did these things happen? I've asked that question before, why? But we don't always ask ourselves the question so much why things happen when things happen good to us. We don't say, I wonder why that happened. I had a good thing happen to me today. I went over to a computer shop to try to get my computer fixed, and anyway, a guy sold me 2 brand new computers for $100 a piece. Can you believe that? 2 brand new laptops for $100 a piece. Why did that happen? It's easy for us to ask why when bad things happen. When good things happen, we just take it for granted, don't we? Psalm 74:1. Why hast thou cast us off forever? Why doth thine anger smoke against the sheep of thy pasture? Luke 24:38, he said to them, why are ye troubled? Why do thoughts arise in your hearts? That's what I was thinking this morning when I was trying to go on and do our devotional this morning, and I couldn't get the computer to work. It just wouldn't work. I guess the good Lord wanted me to have 2 new computers for $100 a piece. Okay. Psalm 10:1. Why standest thou far off, O Lord? Why hidest thou thyself in times of trouble? You know, we feel like God is very present when things are going our way. But when things aren't going our way, then we start murmuring and complaining, don't we? I'm talking to myself as much as anyone else today after going through this thing for 6 hours trying to figure out what was going on with my computer. You know? Now I know that it was ordained by God for some reason. Okay? I know it was. But you know, like I said, when things aren't going well, we think God's forgotten us. Psalm 42:9, I will say unto God, my rock, why hast thou forgotten me? Why go I a mourning because of the oppression of the enemy? I told Rosette this morning, well, I guess the good Lord doesn't want me to broadcast anymore. Well, here I am broadcasting. Yeah. You know, now whether this broadcast comes out, I guess we'll find out, won't we? We've all had these things happen in our lives. The other day I took off in one of my vehicles. It had been running just fine. All of a sudden it wouldn't go up the hill. It just didn't have any power left. So I had to call a tow truck and have it towed in. Psalm 22:1. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why art thou so far from helping me, and from the words of my roaring? I was roaring some words this morning, I'll tell you that. You know, this lousy, no good computer. Why won't it work? Psalm 42:1. Why art thou cast down, O my soul? Why art thou disquieted within me? You know? Why? 1 Corinthians 15:30. Why stand we in jeopardy every hour? You know? That's the way I felt. But, this I'm not going to get this to work. I might as well throw this laptop in the trash. And when I took it to the computer man, he turned it on. He goes, "Oh, you got major problems." He said, I don't think this is going to work for you, Larry." And here now it is working, right? After the computer man telling me I'm never going to get to work. I'm laughing now because it's working. I wasn't laughing a few minutes ago, I'll tell you that. I was pulling out what little hair I have left. Mark 4:40, he said unto them, "Why are you so fearful? How is it that ye have no faith?" I was thinking of that scripture earlier. If you have faith as a grain of mustard seed, you could say unto this mountain, "Be thou removed and cast into the sea." And I was thinking, I've never met anyone that cast a mountain in the sea because of their faith. Well, like I say, it's real easy to get bent all out of shape when things aren't going our way. Romans 9:19, "Thou wilt say then unto me, Why doth he yet find fault? For who hath resisted his will?" Do you believe that God works all things after the counsel of his own will, including causing laptops not to work? I do. I was down at Walmart. I was going to go in and buy a new laptop, and my wife said, "Do you think we should pray about this before you go in there?" And I said, "Don't you think God's already ordained what's going to happen?" She said, "Well, we're commanded to pray." And so we prayed. And after I prayed, I said, I don't think I'm going to go and buy a new laptop. I'm going to call that computer guy and see if he can help me. Well, it just saved me about $800. At least. Because if I'd bought another laptop, it would have cost me at least $800. And I got 2 brand new ones for $200. Isn't that interesting? There's a lesson. Sometimes things are not always as they appear. And I came home after I got those 2 new computers and stuff. I told her that, well, before I throw this thing in the trash, I think I'm going to turn it on one more time and see if it worked. And it started working perfectly. Now, and then it stopped, and then it started, and then it stopped, and then finally it started again. That's why I'm wondering if this is even going to come out today on this broadcast. Only time will tell. What does God have in mind? You say, "Larry, you're making too big a deal over this." No, I don't think I am. I know how big a deal it was to me all day trying to get it fixed. Well, Ecclesiastes 7:16 says, "Be not righteous over much, neither make thyself over wise. Why shouldest thou destroy thyself?" We think that we think everything. We think the sun rises and sets with us. I saw the other day this real little tiny bug crawling on the ground, and it's almost as it looked up at me like, "Are you going to smash me?" and I stepped over the top of it. And I thought it was predestinated that you live again, bug. You think that's what God says to us when he looks down at us and we're like little tiny bugs? And he goes, I wonder if I should smash that bug today. No, I think I'll step over the top of him. Well, sometimes we get discouraged and think our worth in vain causes us to murmur and of our lot complain. And then we think of Jesus and all he's done for me, and I cry, O Rock of Ages, hide thou me. O Rock of Ages, hide thou me, no other refuge have I but thee. So the next time you have something go wrong, you have a car not wanting to work right, you have a computer not work right, maybe your lawnmower won't start, maybe your coffee maker quits on you, just realize that God works all things after the counsel of his own will, including whether your coffee maker works or not. Now, I know a lot of people are going to get upset over this, but it helps me keep going when I realize God is sovereign over my computer. You know? I hope you all have a good day today, and we'll see if this comes out. God bless.